especially if they're pickleball.
Well,
There.
the next one, and I mentioned it at the end of this last blog. The next one is going to be on vestments, the different clergy attire. And it's not just for clergy, because in different church traditions, even deacons and elders and other people can even wear choir robes. So those are vestments. Vestments are anything worn for a theological purpose. Well, no, vestments are anything worn for a worship service. Let me clarify.
Yeah.
Clericals are anything worn outside of a worship service for theological purposes. So that's the difference.
Your collar.
Correct. Collared shirts would be one of the what we call a clerical. It's not a vestment, it's a clerical. My robe and stole, those are vestments. But my clergy shirt that I have with a collar, where I sometimes wear it when I'm out in public, that is a clerical. So anyway, okay. For those of y'all who happen to be watching this online and heard that that vivid story or that all that bit of information you came into late, I have been doing a blog over the last I don't know, a couple months, not even a couple months, called Pickle Barrel Theology. If you'd like to be a part of it, send me a message on the description or in the comments, and I will be happy to shoot you over the link or the information for that. Okay, for today though, we are still in the story of a Haikar, and this a Haikar was mentioned at the end of the book of the apocryphal book Tobit. Where Tobit was mentioning to his son Tobias before he died, saying, "Remember the story of a Haikar, how he was tricked and died, and how he was tricked, and anyway." And that's all we got. Well, it makes you think, well, what is the story? Don't just leave me hanging there. So we went and, or I say I chose to go ahead and let's do this story of a Haikar, which is not even what we call apocryphal. It's a pseudepigraphal, legendary kind of thing. But the best translation I could find was translated into the English from an Arabic text. And so a lot of the references are Arabic and things like that. But what we've heard so far is a Haikar, he was the vizier of King Sennacherib of Syria, basically second or third in command of the whole kingdom. Well, everything works on a nepotism, an hierarchy there. And so a Haikar didn't have any children. And so he took his eldest nephew, Nadab, some places say Nadab, some say Nadam, or Nabin, or something like that. But Nadab, he was, he learned all this stuff, but then he used it for evil purposes. And in order, he was asked to do something he didn't want to do, and so he tricked King Sennacherib into, what he did was he wrote letters to the king of Egypt and the king of Syria, Babylon, one of those, to come to battle. We want to do battle. Well, when King Sennacherib was able to, or I say that, a Haikar was able to ease the tensions all of a sudden that his nephew had done, and but Nadab went to King Sennacherib and told him his side of the story before a Haikar got there, and a Haikar was ordered to be put to death. Okay, he was loved by Sennacherib, but he was, had a death order. Well, where we are right now is a Haikar was beloved by all these other nations, so it came as a surprise that he would send them this edict of, let's go to war kind of thing. And so they're hearing about the death of a Haikar. Spoiler alert. he really ain't dead. Okay, he really ain't dead.
He's in
But-
hiding.
But but these other countries are hearing about this, okay? So that's where we pick up our story today. Is these other countries are responding to Sennacherib, upon hearing of a high car's death. So, pull this up. Here. And when the king of Egypt, that would be the Pharaoh, had made sure that Hykar was slain. Hykar is the Arab word for eye. He arose straightway and wrote a letter to King Sennacherib, reminding him in it of the peace and the health and the might and the honor which we wish, especially for thee, my beloved brother Sennacherib. I have been desiring to build a castle between the heaven and the earth, and I want thee to send me a wise, clever man from thyself to build it for me, and to answer me all my questions, and that I may have the taxes and the custom duties of Assyria for 3 years. Then he sealed the letter and sent it to Sennacherib. He took it and read it and gave it to his viziers and to the nobles of his kingdom, and they were perplexed and ashamed. And he was wroth with a great wrath and was puzzled about how he should act. Okay, so the king of Egypt says, "Look, we got all this figured out. We're sorry that Hykar's dead now, but we've been thinking about building this giant tower to the heavens." That ring a bell? Okay, yeah, but the Tower of Babel happened a long time before this. A long time before this. But we've been thinking about doing this. Keep in mind, Egypt is famous for its pyramids. So that, you can kind of get a mindset that this will be the largest pyramid they've ever tried. And he said, and I want it to be an honor between the two of us. So I'm asking, if you don't mind, if you could send us some money equal to about 3 years worth of the taxes you collect. That would be like Greece asking the United States, "Hey, we're going to build this Navy, and so we'd ask for about 1/3 of your defense budget for us to build our Navy." Okay, that kind of thing. And so King Sennacherib is a little confused because that's a lot of money. What if he uses this against me? It's probably what's going through his mind. So how do I react? How do I answer? Okay. Then he assembled the old men and the learned men and the wise men and the philosophers and the diviners and the astrologers and everyone who was in his country, and read them the letter and said to them, "Who amongst you will go to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and answer him his questions?" And they said to him, "Oh, our lord the king, I know that there is none in thy kingdom who is acquainted with these questions except Hykar, thy vizier and secretary." Well, he's dead, supposedly. But as for us, we have no skills in this, unless it be Nadan, his sister's son, for he taught him all his wisdom and learning and knowledge. Call him to thee, perchance he may untie this hard knot. Remember that one of the lessons that Hykar taught Nadan here was this statement of learn to tie the knots that are untied and to untie the knots that are tied. Basically, you need to learn the act of diplomacy, when to push and when to just leave alone. Okay. And so they're thinking, well, he taught Nadan everything that he knew, so Nadan should be able to do this. Yeah, Nadan's an idiot. Then the king called Nadan and said to him, "Look at this letter and understand what is in it." And when Nadan read it, he said, "Oh, my lord, who is able to build a castle between the heaven and the earth?" So he's using this. Nobody can do that. And you want me to go figure this out? And when the king heard the speech of Nadan, he sorrowed with a great and sore sorrow, and stepped down from his throne and sat in the ashes and began to weep and wail over Hykar, because Hykar couldn't figure it out, saying, "Oh, my grief, O Hykar, who didst know the secrets and the riddles. Woe is me for thee, O Hykar, O teacher of my country and ruler of my kingdom. Where shall I find thy like? O Hykar, O teacher of my country, where shall I turn for thee? Woe is me for thee. How did I destroy thee? And I listened to the talk of a stupid, ignorant boy, without knowledge, without religion, without manliness. And again, for myself, who can give thee to me just for once, or bring me the word that Hykar is alive, and I would give him the half of my kingdom. Whence is this to me? Ah, Hykar, that I might see thee just for once, that I might take my fill of gazing at thee and delighting in thee. Well, he's really missing Hykar, isn't he?
Feels like my dad.
Ah, oh my grief for thee to all time, O Hykar, how I have killed thee, and I tarried not in thy case till I had seen the end of the matter. And the king went on weeping night and day. Now, when the swordsman saw the wrath of the king and his sorrow for Hykar, remember, Hykar got out of this by talking to the swordsman. Okay, he was able to prove to the swordsman, I didn't do any of this. I'm innocent. So anyway, his heart was softened towards him, and he approached into his presence and said to him, "Oh my lord," this is the swordsman talking to King Sennacherib now. "Oh my lord, command thy servants to cut off my head." Then said the king to him, "Woe to thee, Abu Samik, what is thy fault?" And the swordsman said unto him, "O my master, every slave who acts contrary to the word of his master is killed, and I have acted contrary to thy command." Meaning, I haven't killed everyone you've told me to kill. Then the king said unto him, "Woe unto thee, O Abu Samik, and what hast thou acted contrary to my command?" And the swordsman said unto him, "O my lord, thou didst command me to kill Hykar, and I knew that thou wouldst repent thee concerning him, and that he had been wronged, and I hid him in a certain place, and I killed one of his slaves, and he is now safe in the cistern. And if thou command me, I will bring him to thee." And the king, you can wait till you see this reaction. And the king said unto him, "Woe to thee, O Abu Samak, thou hast mocked me, and I am thy lord." You dumb beast. And the swordsman said unto him, "Nay, but by the life of thy head, O my lord, Hykar saved alive." And when the king heard that saying, he felt sure of the matter, and his head swam, and he fainted from joy, and he commanded them to bring Hykar. Man, it's funny. He had, when he was sad for Hykar, he had this long discourse of, "Oh, God." And when he hears he's alive, he just faints. Doesn't say anything. And he said to the swordsman, "O trusty servant, if thy speech be true, I would fain enrich thee and exalt thy dignity above that of all thy friends." And the swordsman went along rejoicing till he came to Hykar's house. And he opened the door of the hiding place and went down and found Hykar sitting, praising God and thanking him. Him is capitalized, that meaning God. And he shouted to him, saying, "O Hykar, I bring the greatest of joy and happiness and delight." And Hykar said to him, "What is the news, O Abu Samik?" And he told him all about Pharaoh from the beginning to the end. Then he took him and went to the king. So the swordsman is giving what's he knows what's going on with Pharaoh and the request and all that. So he's given Hykar a heads up. This is what you're walking into. And when the king looked at him, he saw him in a state of want, and that his hair had grown long like the wild beast, and his nails like the claws of an eagle, and that his body was dirty with dust, and the color of his face had changed and faded and was now like ashes. Does this sound like anybody else in scripture? What?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. We haven't got there yet, but Nebuchadnezzar will eventually, when during Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar will he'll go crazy.
Yeah.
And the next time we see that, he'll disappear for a little bit. And then when the next time we see Nebuchadnezzar, this is what Nebuchadnezzar looks like too.
Yeah.
And when the king saw him, he sorrowed over him and rose at once and embraced him and kissed him, and he wept over him and said, "Praise be to God who has brought thee back to me." Yeah, that's all you got to say for all that wailing and stuff. Then he consoled him and comforted him, and he stripped off his robe and put it on the swordsman, and was very gracious to him and gave him great wealth and made Hykar rest. Then said Hykar to the king, "Let my lord the king live forever. These be the deeds of the children of the world. I have reared me a palm tree that I might lean on it, and it bent sideways and threw me down." He's talking about Nadan, his nephew. "But, O my lord, since I have appeared before thee, let not care oppress thee." The king said to him, "Blessed be God who showed thee mercy and knew that thou wast wrong, and saved thee and delivered thee from being slain. But go to the warm bath and shave thy head and cut thy nails and change thy clothes and amuse thyself for the space of 40 days, that thou mayest do good to thyself and improve thy condition and the color of thy face coming back." Go take a 40-day vacation. Yeah, boy, that's a long cruise. Then the king stripped off his costly robe and put it on Hykar, and Hykar thanked God and showed obeisance to the king, and departed to his dwelling glad and happy, praising the Most High God. Now, this is interesting. He stripped off his costly robe. He's already ripped off his outer garment and thrown it on the swordsman. Now he's ripped off his next outer garment and thrown it on Hykar. The king's almost naked.
Mhm.
He's down to just his underwear at this. And the people of his household rejoiced with him, and his friends and everyone who heard that he was alive rejoiced also. And he did as the king commanded him and took a rest for 40 days. Then he dressed himself in the gayest dress. That's the most extravagant, elaborate dress. Went riding to the king with his slaves behind him and before him, rejoicing and delighted. But when Nadan, his sister's son, perceived what was happening, fear took hold of him in terror, and he was perplexed, not knowing what to do. Oh God, he's not dead. Uh-oh. And when Hikar saw it, he entered into the king's presence and greeted him, and he returned the greeting and made him sit down at his side, saying to him, "Oh, my darling Hikar, I look at these letters which the king of Egypt sent to us after he had heard that thou was slain. They have provoked us and overcome us, and many of the people of our country have fled to Egypt for fear of the taxes the king of Egypt has sent to demand from us." Some of them want this to happen, so they've gone from. You got to remember that the two strongest powers in the area right now are Egypt and Assyria. Okay, so then Hikar took the letter and read it and understood all its content. Then he said to the king, "Be not wroth, O my lord. I will go to Egypt and I will return the answers to Pharaoh, and I will display this letter to him, and I will reply to him about the taxes, and I will send back all those who have run away. I will put thy enemies to shame with the help of the Most High God and to the happiness of thy kingdom." And when the king heard this speech from Hikar, he rejoiced with a great joy, and his heart was expanded, and he showed him favor. And Hikar said to the king, "Grant me a delay of 40 days that I may consider this question and manage it." And the king permitted this. Man, so he's got another 40-day vacation. 3 months. They're after this, they basically waited 3 months before responding back. And Hikar went to his dwelling and commanded the huntsmen to capture 2 young eaglets for him, and they captured them and brought them to him. Now I mentioned last week that there's some humor in this story. This is where the humor begins. Okay, so it may be a different kind of humor than you're used to, but this is where it begins. And he commanded the weavers of ropes to weave 2 cables of cotton for him, each of them 2,000 cubits long. That's a long rope. And he had the carpenters brought and ordered them to make 2 great boxes. 2,000 cubits would be about 3,000. Wow. Ordered them to make 2 great boxes, and they did this. Then he took 2 little lads, spent every day sacrificing lambs and feeding the eagles and the boys, and making the boys ride on the backs of the eagles. And he bound them with a firm knot and tied the cable to the feet of the eagles and let them soar upwards little by little every day to a distance of 10 cubits. That would be 15 feet. Till they grew accustomed and more educated to it, and they rose all the length of the rope till they reached the sky, the boys being on their backs. Then he drew them to himself. Why? Why? He's using science to try to figure out how to answer Pharaoh. Is it possible to build something this high to the heavens? Because how are you going to get stuff up there when you get to a certain height? How are you going to get supplies up to that height to keep going? He's using the scientific method by applying. Okay, let's try this. When Hikar saw that, and yeah, his answer was, well, let's try. Eagles, raise them from little eaglets till they're big enough, and see if they are able to hoist people up, fly up there. That's why the rope is 3,000 feet long. He's trying. Can you imagine being 3,000 feet up in the air on the back of an eagle? And you still got to carry supplies too. Yeah. And when Hikar saw that his desire was fulfilled, he charged the boys that when they were borne aloft to the sky, they were to shout, saying, "Bring us clay and stone that we may build a castle for King Pharaoh, for we are idle." Hey, we're up here. We're not doing anything. Give us something to do. And Hikar was never done training them and exercising them till they had reached the utmost possible point of skill. Oh, wow. Then leaving them, he went to the king and said to him, "Oh, my lord, the work is finished according to thy desire. Arise with me that I may show thee the wonder." So the king sprang up and sat with Hikar and went to a wide place and sent to bring the eagles and the boys. And Hikar tied them and let them off into the air all the length of the ropes, and they began to shout as he had taught them. Then he drew them to himself and put them in their places. King, this is my solution to help you to, help Egypt build this tower. And the king and those who were with him wondered with a great wonder. And the king kissed Hicar between the eyes and said to him, "Go in peace, O my beloved, O pride of my kingdom, to Egypt and answer the questions of Pharaoh and overcome him by the strength of the Most High God." Then he bade him farewell and took his troops and his army and the young men and the eagles and went toward the dwellings of Egypt. And when he had arrived, he turned towards the country of the king. And when the people of Egypt knew that Sennacherib had sent a man of his privy council to talk with Pharaoh, I find it funny, privy council, because privy is another word for a bathroom. To talk with Pharaoh and to answer his questions, they carried the news to King Pharaoh, and he sent a party of his privy counselors to bring him before him. Privy is kind of means intimate. Another synonym for it. And he came and entered into the presence of Pharaoh and did obeisance to him, as it is fitting to do kings. And he said to him, "O my lord the king, Sennacherib, his king, hails thee with abundance of peace and might and honor. And he has sent me, who am one of his slaves, that I may answer thee thy questions and may fulfill all thy desire. For thou hast sent to seek from my lord the king a man who will build thee a castle between the heaven and the earth. And I, by the help of the Most High God and thy noble favor and the power of my lord the king, will build it for thee as thou desirest. But, O my lord the king, what thou hast said in it about the taxes of Egypt for 3 years. Now the stability of a kingdom is strict justice, and if thou winnest in my hand vast, no skill should be had. No skill in replying to thee, then my lord the king will send thee the taxes which thou hast mentioned. And if I shall have answered thee in thy questions, it shall remain for thee to send whatever thou hast mentioned to my lord." So, if what I'm doing for you doesn't work, we will be happy to pay the 3 years worth of taxes. But if it does work, you have to pay us that. That's his solution. Okay. And when Pharaoh heard that speech, he wondered and was perplexed by the freedom of his tongue and the pleasantness of his speech. And King Pharaoh said to him, "Oh man, what is thy name?" He said, this is funny because Pharaoh had already written a letter to Sennacherib saying, "Oh, we know Hicar was favored by you." Although maybe he hasn't met Hicar. I don't know. But interestingly, King Pharaoh said to him, "Oh man, what is thy name?" He said, "Thy servant is Abika, and I am a little ant of the ants of King Sennacherib." And Pharaoh said to him, "Had thy lord no one of higher dignity than thee, that he has sent me a little ant to reply to me and to converse with me?" Hicar is hiding his identity because why? Pharaoh thinks he's dead too. Okay. And Hicar said to him, "O my lord the king, I would to God most high that I may fulfill what is on thy mind. For God is with the weak, that he may confound the strong." Does that sound familiar? Paul said, "When I am weak, thou art strong." So some of these legends and traditions come from similar places. Then Pharaoh commanded that they should prepare a dwelling for Abika and supply him with provender, meat and drink, and all that he needed. And when it was finished 3 days afterwards, Pharaoh clothed himself in purple and red and sat on his throne. And all his viziers and the magnates of his kingdom were standing with their hands crossed, their feet close together, and their heads bowed. Like this. And Pharaoh sent to fetch Abika, and when he was presented to him, he did obeisance before him and kissed the ground in front of him. And King Pharaoh said to him, "O Abika, who am I like? And the nobles of my kingdom, to whom are they like?" And Hicar said to him, "O my lord the king, thou art like the idol Bel, and the nobles of thy kingdom are like his servants." I don't know whether this is a compliment or not.
Who's an idol Bel?
Bel is the main god of the Canaanites, of the original Canaanites. Bel, Molech, they're all. It's where the term Belshazzar comes. That's where the name Belshazzar comes. Bel is who Solomon sacrificed children to. That was one of Solomon's wives. Gods, okay, from the main area. Bel is a big deal. Okay? He said to him, go and come back hither tomorrow. So Hikar went as King Pharaoh had commanded him. And on the morrow, Hikar went into the presence of Pharaoh and did obeisance and stood before the king. And Pharaoh was dressed in a red color, and his nobles were dressed in white. And Pharaoh said to him, O Abicam, who am I like? And the nobles of my kingdom, to whom are they like? And Abicam said to him, O Lord, thou art like the sun, and thy servants are like its beams. Now we're getting somewhere, because now we're talking about gods of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to him, go to thy dwelling and come hither tomorrow. Then Pharaoh commanded his court to wear pure white, and Pharaoh was dressed like them and sat upon his throne, and he commanded them to fetch Hikar. And he entered and sat down before him. The colors have meaning, I just don't know what they mean. Okay, sorry. And Pharaoh said to him, O Abicam, whom am I like? And my nobles, to whom are they like? And Abicam said to him, O my lord, thou art like the moon, and thy nobles are like the planets and the stars. And Pharaoh said to him, go, and tomorrow be thou here. You get the idea that maybe Pharaoh likes being,
Praised.
narcissistic here. Then Pharaoh commanded his servants to wear robes of various colors. Pharaoh wore a red velvet dress, sat on his throne, and commanded them to fetch Abicam. And he entered and did obeisance before him. And he said, O Abicam, whom am I like? And my armies, to whom are they like? And he said, O my lord, thou art like the month of April, and thy armies are like its flowers.
Praise and praise and praise.
Now you can understand you're like the month of April. Why? This gives you an idea of who translated. It had to be after the Roman Empire had taken over, before Hellenization had taken place, because April did not exist.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh.
wrong month.
Well, the name April didn't exist. And when the king heard it, he rejoiced with a great joy and said, O Abicam, the first time thou didst compare me to the idol Bel and my nobles to his servants. And the second time thou didst compare me to the sun and my nobles to the sunbeam. And the third time thou didst compare me to the moon and my nobles to the planets and the stars. And the fourth time thou didst compare me to the month of April and my nobles to its flowers. But now, O Abicam, tell me thy lord King Sennacherib, whom is he like? And his nobles, to whom are they like? And Hikar shouted with a loud voice and said, be it far from me to make mention of my lord the king, and now seated on thy throne. But get up on thy feet, that I may tell thee whom my lord the king is like, and to whom his nobles like. So, basically it's, look, I don't want to disrespect you while you're sitting on your throne. So stand up. And Pharaoh was perplexed by the freedom of his tongue and his boldness in answering. And Pharaoh arose from his throne and stood before Hikar and said to him, tell me now that I may perceive whom the Lord the king is like, to his nobles, to whom they are like. And Hikar said to him, my Lord is the God of heaven, and his nobles are the lightnings and the thunder, and he wills the winds blow and the rain falls. And he commands the thunder, and it lightens and rains, and he holds the sun, and it gives not its light, and the moon and the stars, and they circle not. And he commands the tempest, and it blows, and the rain falls, and it tramples on April, and destroys its flowers and its houses.
Wow.
Sure. Everything he has just called, over the last few days, everything that he has described the king of Egypt and his nobles and armies and things, his Lord is even more powerful. You've got to think that if the pharaohs kept pretty good records, which they probably did, that this pharaoh has probably remembered Exodus. Or has remembered the time. So yeah, this probably ain't, he's probably like, and when Pharaoh heard this speech, he was greatly perplexed and was wroth with a great wrath, I bet, and said to him, oh man, tell me the truth and let me know who thou really art. And he told him the truth. I am Hikar the scribe, greatest of the privy councilors of King Sennacherib, and I am his vizier and the governor of his kingdom and his chancellor. And he said to him, thou hast told the truth in this saying, but we have heard of Hikar, that King Sennacherib has slain him, yet thou dost seem to be alive and well. And Hikar said to him, yes, so it was, but praise be to God who knoweth what is hidden. For my lord the king commanded me to be killed, and he believed the word of profligate men. But the Lord delivered me, and blessed is he who trusteth in him. And Pharaoh said to Hikar, go, And tomorrow be thou here and tell me a word that I have never heard from my nobles, nor from the people of my kingdom and my country. Huh,
What would that be?
well, we'll find out next week.
I thought he'd already told him. Worship the
So
Lord.
this ruse succeeds. The high car answers every question of Pharaoh. The boys and the eagles are the climax of the day.
Okay.
Wit so rarely found in ancient scriptures is revealed, as well, it even gets funnier. The parable of a high car which completes his nephew's education, striking similes. A high car calls the boy picturesque names, and the end of this, the story, the end of the story.
Yeah, I'm good with this.
So,
It's not gonna leave
Uh,
the thing, though.
well, next, I don't, this book was a little bit longer, or there was more to it than I thought there would be, so I do not think we finish next week. But we get really close, and I think all that's left, maybe we do, I don't remember, I did this several weeks ago. But we're gonna find out, another spoiler alert, we're gonna find out that Nadine has a younger brother. And so a high car is going to pick him to be his, and he's gonna train him. So we're gonna end the story of high car with some more parables, some more teachings, okay? So just giving y'all a heads up, that that's kind of how next week's gonna go. Any questions, concerns, criticisms, complaints? No?
I'm glad you're doing
Doing what? Oh, the story? It's funny, it's interesting,
this.
I would read it. It's like a short story. I would read it in my regular time if I'd known about it then, but.
I wanna know if those boys and eagles fly.
If I remember correctly, we still hear about them briefly, in next week, so. I'm gonna go ahead and this and then tell you all. Bye, everybody. See y'all next week.
Bye. Everybody. Okay.